Good evening, everyone. This is Stephanie Coleman with Kansas Lend. We're really excited for you to join us to the Kansas Lend Family Education Series tonight on visual supports in the holiday seasons. Really excited about this session. We are bringing back one of our favorite past Lend trainee postdocs. Dr. Katy Tepper is joining us tonight, along with three of our current emerging leaders, Emily Kessler, Suzanne Martell, and Natalie Watkins. They'll all introduce themselves, but really excited to have them here. Let's see, I think, and this is our last session for the year, and we will have the 2026 calendar coming out soon. So I am going to turn it over to, I'm not sure who is going to start off, but here we go.
I will go ahead and start off. I'm a previous Lend trainee with Kansas Lend. I'm currently a pediatric psychologist at Children's Mercy. I specialize in autism spectrum disorder, and I have a strong interest in using visual supports and how helpful they can be. So that's where I'm coming from.
Hey y'all, my name's Emily. I am a current Lend trainee. I've been lucky to get to participate with all of the great trainees this year. I am one of the Lend employees as well. I work with Stephanie on our trainings for early childhood educators. So my background is in psychology and early childhood education. I'm also a mom to a 5 3/4-year-old. So I use a lot of these kinds of strategies with my own family, as well as training early childhood educators in our community.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Martell. I am a current Lend trainee. I'm also a project coordinator at the University of Kansas with the Lifespan Institute, working with young children with autism and their communication. And I am a former special education teacher as well as a mom to 4, 2 of which have autism. So visual supports are very near and dear to my heart.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Watkins. I'm also a current Family Lend trainee. I work part-time as a substitute teacher, and I'm also mother of 3 kids on the spectrum. So anything that we can learn together about supporting our children during the holidays is very effective and important to me as a parent, and also hopefully we can share that with you all as well.
All right. Well, as we're kind of jumping into the holiday season, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and then the rest of the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, everything's coming. And that's exciting, right? It's a really exciting time. It's very, very fun. It can be very joyful and magical, a time for connection with family. Your house might feel very cozy with all of your decorations. It can be exciting for your kids. And it can also be, go ahead, Suzanne. Really busy. Everything is different. Everything is changing. Schedules look very different. Schools are out. It can be really loud. There's a lot of different really exciting activities that you can engage in, and those activities are typically really, really loud. Even family gatherings can be really, really loud. Confusing. Everything becomes so different than it typically is, and so it can be really confusing, especially for our kids who aren't fully understanding why everything is changing, why everything is different. And there's a lot of different rules. There's a lot of expectations that change. Everything looks a little bit different. And that's just really unwritten. There's not a clear guideline for kids to understand why things are changing, what looks different. Why is this the way that it is?
So in a minute, Dr. Tepper is going to get into some more specific strategies with you. But one of the things that I always work on with the daycare providers when we do similar trainings is thinking about before we jump into just making a million different resources. I know you families get all kinds of resources thrown at you, right? And so before we start trying to wade through those, really thinking through and making a plan for specifically what your family is going to need and targeting the things that are going to be most helpful to you. And so thinking through, like, what is that going to look like for your family? What changes in routines are there going to be? What new experiences will your child experience? What changes in their environment might happen? Increased social demands, just how busy it all is going to be, and also your child's and your family's interests and priorities. Suzanne, if you want to move ahead, it's gonna, I think, bring up a little visual here. So we're gonna drop into the chat this form. Find it. There we go. That we've made to help you do just that. So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes kind of walking through what it looks like and how you can use it to get your sort of plan before the plan of thinking about, well, what do I actually need? And then I can maybe let the other things that I don't actually need, those resources, just kind of be there for next time. Let's move forward, I think, in the slides. Yeah. So the first step is to do just exactly what we first talked about, which is thinking through what types of changes you're going to have. So is your child going to have changes in familiar environments? Like maybe you're going to grandma's house, but grandma's house is going to have the furniture completely rearranged and all kinds of decorations that are going to look completely different. For some children, and for some adults for that matter, that can be really disorienting. So is that something that you think your child's going to experience? Are they going to have changes in their daily routine? Like maybe you have a different bedtime routine in the holidays. Maybe you have one of those elves that changes all around. Things that might feel really small, but especially if there's multiple of them, it can really add up. Or if it's a part of their day that your child is really used to being exactly the same, even a little change can feel really big. Or there'll be more time than usual in busy public places, like if you're traveling or if you're shopping and your child's going to be involved in that, remembering that just all of those sensory experiences and demands add up. Will you be attending large or lengthy events like family celebrations, and do they need preparation for that? Are there going to be frequent little events like community events or gift exchanges at schools, things like that, and just anything else that you can think of that's going to be different? Next up is a little reminder to not just think about the what, but also the how many. One of the biggest things that we all know that comes with the holidays that's hard for a lot of us is that it ends up being a lot. So one of my recommendations is, in addition to this little form, sometimes it's really useful to just get out a blank piece of paper and start writing down every single thing that you're going to be doing this holiday season. I decided I should put my money where my mouth is, and I started doing that for my family. This is most of what is going to be happening and what my 5-year-old is going to be expected to manage and cope with over the next 7 weeks for our family. And it's kind of insane when I put it all in one spot. Right. So that can be a really helpful part of the process as well, is just getting down on paper how many there are and helping you prioritize which of those are actually going to be most important to you. And then our next step is to decide which of those are going to be challenges. So once you've decided which ones you really need to do, you're going to pick out which ones of those do you think are going to be particularly hard for your child or your family. And you're going to think about why. Why might that be difficult? So I think holiday shopping is going to be awful for my kid. Why do I think that's going to be so hard? Well, the lighting is really bright and they don't handle that well. It's going to be loud. There's lots of other people. There's unwritten expectations about what they can and can't touch. And they have a really hard time with, the self-control aspect of, we're not buying for you today, we're buying for other people. So I'm going to list all of those things out of why this might be difficult. Again, there's a specific question about the unspoken expectations. That's a really big part of holidays, is that there are all of these new expectations that we often don't make clear. And if we can identify and say, okay, well, the expectation is that you don't ask for gifts for yourself when you're out shopping. The expectation is that you don't take things off the shelf if you're not going to buy it. Whatever those things are, making it more clear can help us identify which ones our children might need help with. And then the last one is to start to make your list of what strategies you can use to try to help. This isn't where you're going to make a full plan, but you're just going to write your ideas about what you could do to help there. And then your final step is to actually make the plan. And so again, we're going to spend some time talking this evening about strategies and things that you can make and use. And then this other really important part of sharing it with other people in your life who are going to need to know about it or who can be there to help. So especially if it's things like going to some sort of family event or something like that, don't keep it to yourself and feel like you have to be the one that handles all of it. Share those ideas with the other people in your child's life and help get everybody on the same page about what struggles there might be and how they can help. So that's our first step, the sort of plan before the plan and getting ready and getting creative about what strategies you can use. I think Natalie has a point of view for us and a little bit of thoughts of some of the ways she has for her own children gotten creative about strategies to use and how to share it and bring other people sort of into that process.
Sure. I think back of, to many holidays and, some are much more positive remembrances for our family. But as a parent, I've always tried to plant little seeds about what to expect, probably 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even up to a month in advance. And it just kind of start out very short and small about maybe we're going to be going these places and this is what we're going to expect. And then as we're getting closer, I do start writing out a visual schedule. Like we have a marker board, whiteboard in our kitchen. So I will try to write out like a schedule of maybe the day or who's coming. If it's someone coming over to our house, maybe who's going to come over or what time they're going to come over. And so it's really good to have a plan. And I try very hard. I'm a big believer in planning ahead. But I also want to encourage all you parents to remember that those people that are coming to your house or to the houses that you're only going to be there for a short amount of time, but you're going to live with these children for the rest of your life, or they are your children for the rest of your life. Maybe they move out, whatever. And you don't want to create an experience that's supposed to be uplifting. You don't want to make it a traumatic experience. So I always try to remember, even though sometimes maybe it's a little bit humbling, that I'm going to have an exit plan as a parent, because at the end of the day, my first responsibility is to my children. It's not to any other guest in my home. So if something's not working, I have to have, maybe I would say, the humility to say, you know what, I tried really hard to make this plan. I thought it was going to work out, but my child is maybe having a meltdown, and it would be better for us to we did it, we tried, and at this present time, we're going to have to stop, or we're going to have to leave, or perhaps one of my children will participate, but the other one is not going to, and I'm going to be okay with that. And when it's all said and done, I'm not going to feel guilty, because I know that I did the absolute best that I could as a parent. I prepared my children, but we can't be prepared for every response that they have. None of us know how we're going to respond in the situation. So at the end of the day, the most important thing is that your children feel loved throughout the holiday time, even if that means bowing out early from something that you had planned and maybe you had looked forward to.
Thanks for sharing that perspective, Natalie. It's just such an important thing for all of us to remember as we're jumping into this season. So let's jump back one slide, Suzanne. Yeah. So why visuals are important. So a lot of people, including individuals with autism, developmental disabilities, learn best visually. So being able to pair what's being said with a visual representation of that impacts learning substantially, and it allows people to understand better about what was being said, and it's just allows for more connection and understanding. It can really reduce anxiety because, again, your kids really might be understanding more of what you're saying and what the changes might be, if they're able to see it visually as well as hear what you're talking about. Can really increase predictability. So to know what is happening, what's coming next, what's changing, how is this changing, and then really promoting independence, because they can check their visual schedule, They can go look at it and say, oh yeah, what's happening next? Or how is this changing? What did grandma's house look like again? and can really allow for smoother transitions because, again, they know what's coming, they know what's happening, and can have far more control over their own schedule. All right, we can jump forward. So, preparing the environment, this is just a way of really thinking about the whole environment, right? So, this is a lot of different parts and pieces, but Emily mentioned earlier, let's just say, for example, you're going over to a family member's house. That family member has decorated for the holidays, so their house is going to look different. Asking, hey, can we get a picture of what the living room looks like so that you can really show your child in advance? This is what it looks like. This looks different. If they've moved furniture because they've extended the table, just showing your kids, hey, this is the change. This is what's going to happen. You can FaceTime potentially and just see what that looks like, but pictures can be really nice because you can look at them multiple times. Practicing with sensory items before events. So if you think your kids might be using some sensory items like a headphones or some sort of weighted vest or anything to assist with sensory differences, the first time to try it is not at the event. I would really be practicing with those a couple of weeks in advance to really say, is this going to work? Do they like it? Are they used to them? Because if they're already overstimulated and we're like, well, let's just put this new thing on your head, they're probably going to have quite a bit of difficulty. So practicing with those at home in an area where they're very comfortable can be really, really helpful. Preparing for breaks. So if you're going to an event, if you're going to a family member's house, if you're going anywhere, really kind of identifying where can my kid have a break in this environment. So if you need to talk to the family members to say, hey, is there a room that we could go to so that you have kind of an exit strategy is what Natalie was talking about earlier, where you have a way to bow out for a little while where it's calm, it's quiet. Maybe you can adjust the lighting, whatever that looks like for your kid. But preparing for that. So talking to your family members, but then if you're going to some sort of holiday event, identifying, is there a place that's close that we can take a break? So that you are able to really step away, help your kid re-regulate, calm down, and then maybe re-enter if they feel ready. And then I think another important piece that we've all kind of already touched on a little bit is really preparing your family members, other individuals that might be going with you of, hey, these are the things that we're going to be using. We have these, different visuals. We have headphones. We have these breaks prepared just so that they know this is what's going to change. Another big piece, and I know that we're probably going to touch on this a little bit more, but the food at holiday events can be extremely challenging for kids with autism or other developmental disabilities because it's a very specific diet that we eat around the holidays, and that diet might not really fit very well with your kids' needs. And so that can be another really important conversation to have with family members of like, hey, I'm bringing Johnny's food because he's not going to eat anything, and that's okay. We can continue to have the regular meal, but just for everybody's reference, I'm going to bring him something else to eat. And we don't probably really need to comment on it. It's fine. Because sometimes family members get very offended over this. At the end of the day, if Johnny eats, it's way more effective. He'll be able to stay longer. We'll all be able to have a better day. Versus if we try to force him to eat, turkey and green beans. So really having that conversation with family members in advance. All different types of visual support. So we've talked a lot about using visuals, but there's a lot of different ways to use visuals. So a visual schedule, and we're going to be starting to kind of drop some examples of these in the chat, and you can take them, adapt them, use them. But a visual schedule, what's going to change? What does this look like? What is your day going to look like? So like Natalie just mentioned, she has a whiteboard. She puts that visual schedule on the whiteboard because it changes. Sometimes it's just on a piece of paper and you can check it off. Other times it's truly just in the moment drawing where you're like, oh gosh, I didn't realize that our schedule was going to change. Hey, here's what's going to happen. It does not have to be beautiful. It just needs to be effective. So being able to show your kid, hey, this is the difference. This is our difference in our schedule today. We're going to talk a lot more about social stories, but that's a really nice visual support. Choice boards. So being able, you can kind of see this on my picture here where this is a choice board. So there's just 4 different activities that the child can choose from: a snack, to play, to get their tablet, or have a book. Again, you could give your child all of those choices verbally. They might have a lot more autonomy if they see the pictures and be able to make that choice a little bit more effectively. And then this is a larger picture of the first then board. So first we're going to do this thing that you might not really like. So first we're going to sit down at the dinner table, and then you get to do one of these things that you really want to do. Visual countdowns. This can be exciting for everybody. If there's a visual countdown to Christmas, or there's a visual countdown to when grandma comes, just showing them what's happening. When is it going to happen? But then really using timers to show a child how much time do you have left until this event is over, until you get to do something that you really want, or until the thing comes. But timers can be a wildly effective way of allowing kids to have some more control over what's happening. It also decreases the emotion when something's over, because it's not the parent telling them that it's over, the timer did. The timer went off, it's time to be done with that. Then there's a lot of different emotion regulation visuals to really show kids different coping skills, because if in the moment, really tapping into what those coping skills are can be really challenging. So if you can show them more visually, they might have a little bit more success in using those coping skills.
Okay, so I love social stories. And I spent a lot of my career creating social stories. Um and I have found that sometimes they're a little bit difficult to create, or sometimes you're recreating the wheel. So why are social stories helpful during the holiday season? And if it'll go, there we go. And they can decrease anxiety and stress, which we know all visuals can help with. And that's going to look like helping them feel calmer, because we're preparing them for those new holiday routines, those events, those sensory experiences. Think about if we are going to go see zoo lights. That's something we have in Topeka. I'm pretty sure other zoos do it. That's a lot of lights. It's a lot of changes. That helps them practice those skills, acquaint to those new environments before having to actually be in them. It's going to enhance their communication skills. We want to grow both the words that they understand and the words that they can use. And social stories can help them with that. It gives them the words that they need to understand what to say in situations, but also what others may say during those social gatherings during the holidays. It's going to increase their emotional intelligence. What that's going to look like is it helps them identify, label, manage those feelings that are going to happen during the busy and overstimulating times, like the holidays, but also just other times in life. The social story allows them to practice those self-regulation and coping skills throughout the story. And then, just like all visual supports, it promotes that predictability and routine. So those social stories, they clarify what's going to happen, when it will happen, and how to handle changes in that routine if they do happen. So it's going to help make the holidays and all of the other transitions that come with them smoother and more comfortable, not just for your child, but also for you. Um, and I believe we are going to drop a social story that I cooked up in the chat. It's a few pages. And then I also just kind of had this what do I do if one pager that I created. The thing that's great about social stories is if you type in social story 4 in Google, you're going to find a plethora of them that are there and are available. What I like is that you can find ones that are customizable. You can edit them. And so when you're looking at a social story, you want to make sure that your social story has that clearly stated purpose. So what to expect on Christmas Day. That it's logically sequenced, because that's going to give them that predictability. In the social story that Emily dropped in for us, I use a lot of the same wording. I repeat pages, just using them for Christmas Eve, Christmas morning, Christmas Day. Use that descriptive language. So you want those simple, concrete terms, but you want them to be in language that children and readers can understand. If necessary, oh, you little stinker. If necessary, you can put perspective taking into the social story so that they can understand not only how they might feel in a situation, but how others may feel. And then always use those visual supports. Use those graphics to support that story. The best social stories are with the pictures, like Katy and Emily and even Natalie have talked about, of the home that you're going to be in, of the place that you're going, things like that. I think that might be our last slide, guys. Oh no, I am so sorry. Natalie, I'm going to throw it over to you for our sensory-friendly holiday activities.
Okay, so I do apologize. I only was looking for resources that are in the Kansas City metro. And so if we have people that are in other parts of the states, I'm sorry. But on the flip side, I'm assuming that in other towns in our state, there's probably similar um, places where you can go. So the first one that our family has participated in a few times is called Sarco Par Trails Park. It's a mouthful, sorry, tongue twister. So anyway, their little event is called Sarco Aglow. And so one thing that I like about this is if you're going to go look at Christmas lights, I enjoy going to places with my family where you can go at your own pace. It's in the dark, so that if your child needs a little bit of time to step away from whatever they're looking at, there's not a line of people around that are like getting upset because you're holding up the line. So if you can find places like Christmas lights that are in parks, public parks or whatever, city parks, where you can go at your own pace, and also there's no music at this particular display. So it's not sensory overload. And then if your child, of course, is saying like, wow, that's too bright, or I can't handle this, or maybe I don't like it, of course, you're free to just leave the park. But for one thing, in this situation, you're not paying any money to do it, so it's not like you're going to be out any funds. But also, it's kind of an enjoyable way to do something without worrying about overstimulating your children. There are other events that we have gone to where the music is timed or is choreographed to the lights, but sometimes I honestly feel like that's just sensory overload. So we kind of try to avoid those things. If you want to go to the next one. I did find this one. This is over in Kansas City, Missouri. It's at a chiropractor's office. And this one did cost, I believe it was $13, but for the first hour, you're going to be decorating cookies with Santa. So I thought that was really neat. Instead of, standing in a really long line to meet a Santa, and then, you have a few minutes with Santa. In this situation, the children actually get to interact with Santa and make the cookies and decorate for the first hour. And then the second hour is when they're actually taking the photographs. So, and it was specifically called a Sensory Santa experience. So for children that just need a different experience when visiting with Santa. Okay, and then our last slide. This is something that our family has enjoyed in the past. It's been a few years, but the Hallmark Center has a little children's, kind of like a museum. It's called Kaleidoscope. And normally Kaleidoscope is just, I believe, first come, first serve. But they do have one day set aside. It's December 13th, and you do need to make reservations for this one. It's, of course, also a free event, but it's a sensory friendly session. And I think they last about an hour. So I think that some of the normal things that they have going on, maybe with turning off the lights or different things, they're not going to be doing that this time around. So that is another option for a few things that are available for families this holiday season.
I just want to highlight that there's quite a few different resources in the chat. And so you could download those and just kind of take a look at them. A lot of them are social stories that you can fill in, visual schedules that you can adapt. There's also an email template for sending an email to family members in advance of events that are occurring, just to say, hey, these are the changes that we're thinking that we're probably going to make this year. Just as an FYI, we might need to take a break, those kinds of things. So yeah, definitely take a look at all of the resources in the chat. And I would be jumping back to Emily's planning sheet at the beginning to really step back and think, what are all of the events that we're supposed to be going to? What feels feasible? What doesn't? And we want to empower you guys to say, hey, we want this holiday to be really enjoyable for all of us. We're probably not going to do all of this because that feels like too much. And we're all also taking this advice this year because it's a lot. It's a lot to have our kids doing things that are really challenging constantly and in a season that we do really want to enjoy. And so I would jump back to that for sure and just really go through that plan and then be able to use some of these templates that we've created to start to address any challenges that you've found.
Yeah, I see we've got a little bit of time left. Do you think it would be helpful for me to show those resources really quickly and just kind of a quick overview of what each one is?
Yeah, that would be great. And then also, I want to share that if you are watching this video recorded on our YouTube page, we aren't able to put these documents out onto YouTube. But if you email kansaslend@kumc.edu, and that will be in the writing underneath the video if you're watching this on YouTube, go to kansaslend@kumc.edu and say you would like the handouts from the Holiday Kansas Lend Family Education Series visual supports. We will get those to you.
Perfect. And yes, there are quite a lot of them. We wanted to not overwhelm you with resources, but make sure you had what you need. So let me share my screen real quick and I can just walk you through them a bit.
While she is pulling that up, Katy had just briefly touched on, those sensory issues around the food. And I wanted to, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but remind everyone that it is okay to take your child the Nutella and the chicken nuggets or whatever it is that they really, really love. And you may, so my grandson's in the background talking to you guys, you may wind up with a family member like us who decided that Christmas dinner needed to be for everyone. And so now we have a taco bar because that is what my son is willing to eat. So thank you, Emily, for going through these.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Suzanne. I think that's one of my favorite little tidbits that has come out of us as we've prepped this is that story of your family finding ways that are creative and that might feel at first different or off-putting maybe even to some families, but the way that's going to make it work for the entire family is, I think, so cool. So let me show you what's here. I think I have them pulled up in the order that we dropped them in so that hopefully it can help you orient you a little bit. The first one is the visual and environmental supports menu. This is not by any means an exhaustive list of everything you could do to support your child with visuals or in their environment, but it's just a nice little list of the topics that we talked about today that can kind of get your juices flowing as you're filling out that form maybe, or you're trying to think through what might be a good strategy to try. It's just a nice little one-pager with several different ideas. The second thing is that form that we spent quite a lot of time going over. So I'm not going to go over it again, but here's the entire form for you to print out and use as you need. And then there is that fillable template. It looks a little better than this when you download it, but it's a nice email to use if you're struggling with how to talk about these things with your family. Sometimes putting it in writing can be a good way to to get your ideas out. And so we've made a little template for you so that you don't have to do all of it on your own. You can just fill in your child's name. You can change these topics. So maybe these aren't all of the things that you're going to do. They might be, but they might not be. So you can always take some out, add some, really customize it to meet your needs. The next couple are some visual schedules. So this first one is a PowerPoint. So you can edit it on your own. There are some choices here to print and use to make a little visual schedule, but there's also lots of blank ones that you can either print out and draw a little icon. You can find ones online and drop them in. Or the second one, when you download it, it's already set up to insert pictures. So if you click on it, it'll drop the picture right in there and make it that little square size, and then you're good to go.
And something about that, often families find or kids find it a little bit more impactful if they're real pictures of them doing the activity. So if you happen to have the pictures already, you can take them really quick to drop them in there. That can be really effective of having a picture of your child doing whatever the activity is. Sorry.
I find also the closer it can look to their real thing, the better, even if you don't have photos. So often, like these sort of pre-made pictures, if your car isn't green, that's probably not going to work as well for them as even just if you're a horrible artist, but you have a black truck and you drew an awful black truck, it's probably going to connect better with your child than a really beautifully made green car. So that's just another plug for like, don't be afraid to just kind of make your quick and dirty version too. They work well. The other one is another visual timetable with some Christmas themed or some holiday themed options for you to print out. And so you can use this with, the one that they put here with the now, next, then, or you can just print these out and have some holiday themed ones to use with whatever kind of schedule you already like to do. The next one is incredibly simple. It is just a basic step through process of here are some things that we're going to do today. And again, you can print this out and like tape things in there, or you can, if you've got a particularly busy day and you want to make one online for that very special day, these are little placeholders for photos. So if you click on that, it'll automatically bring up like a prompt to find your own photo and put it in there. And then we move on to the beautiful social stories that Suzanne made. So again, these are fill in the blank templates where you can use your own photos as much as possible and put in your own child's name. This one's made really nicely where you can just print it out and write it rather than having to mess with anything online if that's not your forte. And then this is the one that Suzanne was also talking about of what to do when I feel a particular way. And this can be a really helpful resource too, as you're moving into like a busy event. And then the final one is just a list of a few other resources that might be useful or like places to find other visuals. There's a million things out there on Teachers Pay Teacher and Etsy to find your own, your ones that are going to work best for you. So that's all the resources we've dropped in there. I was also going to share, just to reiterate what Dr. Tepper said, like being flexible. We gave you all of these resources to make beautiful ones that you've thought through ahead of time and that sort of thing. But a lot of times the most important ones are the ones that you make on the fly. When I work with preschool teachers, when I used to teach, I always told my team, like, if it's going to take more than 5 minutes, or if it's going to happen more than 5 minutes in the future, if you want the kids to remember it, they need a visual for it. So I was going to share so you can see what we mean, that it does not need to be pretty. This is like one that we made about what needed to happen before we packed to get ready for a trip. And it was literally like, oh my gosh, I just realized I gave you 5 commands. There's no way you're going to be able to do all of that. Let me throw it on this random thing that I found in your art supplies. And it was super effective. It's got check marks and smiley faces and hearts because my daughter was able to go use it on her own to do the things that she needed to do. So they don't need to be pretty. They just need to be right for your child.
I have a wonderful story. The most amazing person that I have ever.
Suzanne, you keep breaking up. And while,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, that's better. I did want to just say, if you have any questions, feel free to take yourself off mute or put them in the chat and we can answer those for you as well. But go ahead, Suzanne.
I'm not sure if it's me breaking up or if it's my grandson in the back saying num 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 really loud. But the most impactful first then I have ever made was when the bus was late once and I had to do a first wait for the bus and then you get to see your mom. And I literally grabbed a picture of a bus off of the internet and the mom's picture off of Facebook and just went back and forth in my pictures. It's all about just being super flexible in the moment too.
Any questions? All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending, and thank you to our wonderful group of our presenters. I was gonna say providers, presenters tonight. We appreciate all that you did and created and developed, and let's get these in the hands of families. We will share this video and share the handouts that you did. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to KansasLend@kumc.edu. We are here to help you. But I hope this helps bring a little bit brighter and more joy and less stress to you this holiday season when Thanksgiving starts and then Hanukkah and Christmas, whatever Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you are celebrating. I hope this is going to be helpful to you. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks everybody for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you.